again with another Handmaid's Tale video. This time I'm going to be talking all about season 5 episode 4 entitled Dear Offred. I must apologize for getting this video out so late. Life was a little crazy. Usually I watch the episodes. I was trying to, guys, let me just transparent for a moment. I was trying to hang in there and stay up till midnight and watch the episodes, and that lasted for the very first week. I can't hang like that anymore. I'm knocking on 40 and body just won't let me do that. So I've been trying to watch the episodes on Wednesday, get my videos out for Thursday. I'm going to try my best to stick with that. This week, of course, if you are on the East Coast, you were dealing with Hurricane Ian. And so a lot of things were going on, school closings and such, and so I did not get a chance to drop this video when I wanted to, so I doubly apologize for that. But hopefully you are here just in time to prep you for this week's upcoming episode. And so I really wanted to break down a lot of the things that I saw happening in this episode, what I think is going to happen in the coming weeks, and just my general thoughts about this episode and whether I liked it or not. I wanted to hear from you guys on whether or not you liked it. So if this is your first time here, welcome. I hope you decide to stay. And if you are coming back, hey friend, good to see you again. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and give this video a thumbs up. And we're going to go right on into my recap and my review. The episode starts with June and baby Nicole in the park. She's pushing her on the swing when this crazy lady comes up to her and it's like, oh, this is a beautiful baby. Now we're kind of used to that. We know babies are rare in this new world, and so people, are fascinated when they see babies. But this woman is giving off some really creepy vibes. First and foremost, because she knows baby Nicole's name, which means she's obviously been following their story and picked up on the clues. Out of nowhere, she wants to try to touch Nicole, and Nicole's like, June's like, okay, hold up. You're not going to put your hands on my baby. And she starts to call June a slut and a whore. Now, this is still such a mind-boggling, to come up with the concept of Gilead anyway is mind-boggling. But this concept of these women who are birthing these angelic babies that everyone is craving, but then you reduce them to whores and sluts, I really just don't understand that. I really don't understand why, if nothing else, these women would not be treated like divine entities. So June does what she needs to do, which is, you're not going to put hands on my child, pushes her out the way and gets in her face and is like, you need to back all the way up. Now the woman drops some little tidbits. She mentions that she had 2 babies and that they were both boys, and so she would have been blessed to be a girl, and that she wishes she had been in Gilead, and how lucky June was to be in Gilead. Like, are you guys forgetting all the other rights and privileges that you were just walking around Canada having that they don't have in Gilead? Like, I know that being a baby is precious and having a baby is precious and everything like that, but like not being able to read, not being able to be educated, not being able to drive, not being able to do anything, nobody autonomy, nothing. And you think that this is okay? Like, it's just mind-boggling to me. What's even more mind-boggling is that June did not punch a girl in the face. Like, it's amazing to me the amount of restraint despite her rage that she has, given what they did to Fred. And so when we next see her, she's sitting in a psychiatrist's office with Luke, and they're talking to her about controlling herself, and Luke is very like, what's going to keep her from being physically violent like that again? And she's like, oh yes, that's a good question. What's going to, like, give me the magic sauce to help me do that? All I kept thinking during that scene, and let me know if you thought something different in the comments, was she really didn't do anything to old girl. Like, she pushed her up against the back of a pole. Like, she really could have beat the brakes off of this woman. And I would have, like, you really are trying to threaten me and my child. I would have eviscerated you. There would be nothing left. I would have pulverized you. So I did not understand, and I do not understand the amount of like seriousness and severity of like, we got to control these violent impulses. Like, maybe the psychiatrist does not know what June did to Fred, but Luke knows what June and them did to Fred. So this is nothing. Like, this is nothing, but they were acting like there was this monumental violent act, which definitely is like starting this theme of June being this like violent person unable to control herself. And it just felt very gaslighty, that whole scene. Not to mention that the psychiatrist was kind of like talking about the woman's infertility and what infertility does as almost like a way to dismiss or to excuse the other woman's behavior, and I did not like that. Eventually they go back. Well, we get to see Serena and Tuello, and Serena's being released from ICC custody and into her Gilead consulate or whatever, and where she's going to be like the meet and greet person, the person to sell Gilead to the rest of the world. I'm over the whole Tuello and Serena thing. Like, I want him gone. I want her gone. I don't understand the limited consequences for her active role in Gilead, and the fact that as a war criminal, she's being given this much freedom. I don't understand. And eventually he shows up. He has the unmitigated gall to show up at Luke and June's house to tell her this. It definitely feels like maybe he's telling her this to egg on her own violent streaks because he can't do anything about it. I was proud of Luke. I was proud of Luke when Luke was like, you got to get up out of my house. I'm about to dog walk you up out of my house. And Moira comes in and is like, I got it. Let me handle it. I don't know if we're to take that maybe a conversation takes place at that moment, but I certainly hope so. Ultimately, Luke is like, we're going to get this place shut down. I'm going to call some people down in building processes or whatever, and we're going to get it shut down. Naively thinking that the same systems that failed them in America would somehow miraculously work for him in Canada. Then we kind of get to June back stalking Serena, like lurking in the car, driving past the house. You know, it's building up this tension, but I will say, because we've already seen her do this, that felt like wasted space a little bit to me. Like, that way it felt like wasted time a little bit. I get like building up the idea of like where her mental is at, but I feel like we already know that that's there. So then when we then see her doing it again kind of later, it's just kind of repetitive. And I'm ready for there to be some forward action. I know that they have to build up this tension because there's got to be some like epic showdown or whatever. And I don't think that Serena is going anywhere before the end of the show. So I just kind of don't like where we are at this juncture with the two of them. It just feels like it's posturing for no reason. And Serena, when she talks to Commander Lawrence, basically says the same thing, that June is kind of stomping her feet like a child who can't get what she wants. You know, I resent Serena reducing what June's gone through to a child, but without there being some action, that is kind of what it feels like. It just feels like posturing. But in this conversation with Commander Lawrence, we basically hear, you know, Serena talking about how they've gotten all these invitations to go meet with people, but he's been declining them for her. And he's like, oh no, we think you got enough on your plate. You're doing good. Gilead is trying to subtly let her know, woman, you got a whole lot of freedom, more freedom than any other woman in our realm. We need you to stay limited. Like, we're doing all we can not to kill you because you have a baby in your belly, but really, if it was up to us, you'd be on the wall or you'd be in the red room somewhere. So you need to just bow down and chill. The hypocrisy of it all, the fact that she still gets to read and have all this independence and freedom and everything else, and she's upholding Gilead, it just, again, asinine. But I always love the opportunity to hear Commander Lawrence, because we know that behind the cover, he's working some things out. He's looking for places where he can insert himself and maybe poke some holes in Gilead's system. At least that's the hope, fingers crossed, that we have for him. And then we kind of get a cut to her sending one of these invitations for like the grand opening to June, which is where we get the title of the show, Dear Offred, playing in June's face. And I really just wish that June would go ahead and unleash her wrath on Serena. But again, we know that that can't happen. So it just feels like we're in this weird juncture where it just keeps posturing. But we know that they really can't have their knockdown, beat down, drag out moment, especially while she's pregnant. And so I'm going to pause and kind of cut to what's going on with Gilead, with Janine and Aunt Lydia, because Janine is, of course, awake. She survived the poisoning from Esther, and she is struggling to learn how to walk again. Aunt Lydia, of course, prayed and thinks that this is a miracle and is trying to win Janine over. And Janine is like, no, I see who you are. You didn't listen to me about Esther. You didn't do what I told you to do. You abused these women. And Aunt Lydia's trying to convince her that she's changed. And she's like, I don't trust you. I see you. The callback to me, so often in film and literature where you have a character that's been partially blinded, and that character gets and gains some wisdom and some insight. I'm still waiting for Janine to get that insight and that wisdom. She has these moments where she stands up for herself, like what she did to June back in the last season, or what she has done in times, random periods to Aunt Lydia. But I'm waiting for her to really flip the script, start thinking strategically, and use the fact that so many people want her in their corner to kind of like her advantage. Ultimately, Aunt Lydia is like, help me with the girls. And she's like, no, I don't trust you. I don't see you. Aunt Lydia eventually goes to Commander Lawrence and is like, hey, we need to restructure the Handmaid's program. I want the commanders and their wives to come to the women. The women stay with me under my guidance so I can protect them, watch over them, nurture them, make sure the babies are okay, take care of them. And he's like, look, I want you to clean things up. We got some people coming in. We got to make it look nice. But no, the commanders, these are pious men. They need a little kink with their ritualistic rape. So no, you can't do that. The look on Aunt Lydia's face when he like very subtly but not so subtly tells her, the men are sleeping with the handmaids when they're not supposed to be. They're literally probably raping them left and right, doing all kinds of things to them. You do know that, right? And it's like he knows how to use language to kind of knock people off center. And so he's slowly chipping away at this facade that Aunt Lydia has been able to erect in her mind, that they're doing the right thing, the godly thing, that this is, a good thing that they're doing. She believes in these men for whatever reason. There's been given no reason for her to believe in these men, and she believes in this system. And so it's slowly chipping this away. We're definitely on to like Aunt Lydia redemption arc territory here, where she's going to start doing more things to try to protect the women and perhaps like start helping to get women out of the program. I don't know, but I want it to be more, but I know that process is going to take time. So I appreciate the time that they're giving us there. But back over in the realm of June and Luke, June is still trying to control this rage that she has. And when she gets the letter, she smashes things, and she's like talking about how naive Luke is, that he thinks that this system of like ordinances is going to be the thing that closes down Gilead in Canada. And she's like telling Moira, we tried that before. And Moira's like, Luke is right. Now listen, I have never been a frontline radical person. However, I think it is plain to see, at least in the literary realm, that the good guys are supposed to be the ones who are measured, who don't use violence, who don't kill, at least. June has done that. She's already gotten her hands dirty. Everything that June has done that has been successful was radical, was dangerous, was getting her hands dirty. And it is very clear that you cannot fight Gilead with legal measures. They are... First of all, they're not a legal government. They usurp power. They definitely plotted plotted and took over the United States. So like, by any means necessary, yes, take them down. Eventually, Luke goes over to Serena and she mans him, suns him big time, and is like, oh, he's like, I've got 15 ordinances here and I can get you shut down. And she's like, oh, okay. And he's like, but I won't bother you if you help us with Hannah. And she's like, no, why would I do that? She's like, it's interesting that you never came back to Gilead. Yes, it was a risk to your life, but like your wife was over here taking all kinds of risks, putting her life on the line, trying to save your babies, trying to get to you. What have you actually done? What blood have you lost? I mean, yeah, you took some bullets, but like, really, what have you done? And you can see his whole demeanor crush. He has no words. He has nothing. He definitely, when eventually he leaves, and then there's a confrontation with some protesters. June is there, wanting to kill Serena, and she finally comes face to face with Serena and has the opportunity to kill her. Luke is really on the fence. Luke really wants to protect June. He wants to make sure she doesn't get in trouble, doesn't get them thrown out of Canada. But at the same time, he really wants to let June do what she got to do. And unfortunately, June sees that baby bump and is like, I can't kill her because she's got the baby in her belly. This baby is not Jesus. Let it go. She needs to go down. She needs to suffer. I want her to hurt. That being said, I really did not like after that scene, June and Luke go back to their house where they engage in the naughty choo-choo. And we see that a lot in media where like the criminals or the people have done the big thing and they've got all this adrenaline running in them and they're like a celebration of life. They're going to mate. I do not like that, especially because what did they really accomplish? What did they really accomplish in this moment? Because Serena is still there. She's still free to roam around, to have freedom to move about. And so it felt like such an unearned moment for the two of them. But I guess if anything, it shows an act of like them being finally on the same page of like maybe their radicalism. Like maybe Luke has finally crossed over to the dark side of things and is going to help June fight back, because he's supported her, but he's never really gotten his feet wet. He's never really gotten his hands dirty. And we see earlier, there is a scene where they're in the garden and they're planting and June's hands are dirty. And it takes someone whose hands are dirty to do the things that are necessary. Perhaps Luke won't, because somebody needs to stay present for Nicole, but it would be nice to see them working on the same page again. And so Serena ultimately is taken to a safe place, which is the home of this would-be commander and his wife who live in Canada, Ryan Wheeler, and we meet his wife, Alanis Wheeler. And she drops down to the floor and like sings praises basically to Serena. It was a very eerie moment because it really reminded me of like how Serena acted whenever June was pregnant. And it made me think and ponder whether or not this woman is going to try and take Serena's baby. Because again, Gilead, I don't know that Gilead can let this woman have this baby, because as Lawrence mentioned in episode 2 or 3, like she's an unusual woman and Gilead has no infrastructure for unusual women. So can they just let her keep this baby? I don't know. Or are they just letting her be free to have the baby until someone else can have the baby? So I suspect that either with Gilead's permission or without, Mrs. Wheeler is going to try to take Serena's baby. That is what I am calling it now. I'm saying that is my theory of what is going to happen. We get back to Gilead and Janine is getting into one of the Red Mobiles and being taken back to the Red Center. She's able to walk with crutches now, and she gets into the car and Aunt Lydia finally apologizes for not listening to her about Esther. It was a nice little moment, I guess, but at the same time, it is very interesting because to me it's a little too late, but we don't know if it's a little too late for Janine. I really hope that Janine uses this moment to strategize. ultimately, I do think that this is the beginnings of Aunt Lydia's redemption arc, and her at least becoming kind of a gray entity in the way that Lawrence is, like someone who's upheld, well, really, Nick is for that matter too, right? Nick, Lawrence, all of them are gray entities who willingly joined Gilead and then have helped in many ways to infiltrate the system. So it'll be interesting to see if this is the moment that sets Aunt Lydia on that same trajectory. That being said, I did not love this episode. I felt like episodes 1 through 3 did so much more. And there were moments that felt repetitive in this, that I felt like we've already seen those moments, the tense moments between Serena and between June. And for as much of the story as this was dedicated to, for those moments, if the only payoff is Luke finally realizing how devious Serena is for himself, and realizing and hearing from someone else's ears how little they think of the fact that he's not done enough for his family, that's a nice payoff, I guess. So I'm hoping that we see more next episode, movement towards that. So yeah, those are my thoughts about this episode. Let me know down below in the comments what you think. Do you think that Luke is going to now have a more active role in the resistance? Do we think that Mrs. Wheeler is going to be trouble? I really hope we get Serena with Mrs. Wheeler and lots of creepy moments where like this woman is slowly plotting on her, and like Serena is suspicious, but there's really nothing she can do about it because she has nowhere else to go, until the point where this woman all but basically dresses Serena in red or something like that, and is like, there's no place for you in this blue color or whatever. I really salaciously hope we get to see, I mean, does that make me a bad person? I don't know, but I'm like June a little bit. Like, I just a little bit messy. But let me know down below in the comments. I will be posting the next episode on Thursday, so come back Thursday for that next episode, and I'll see you guys next time. Okay, toodles.